like to welcome everyone to the conversation where we talk about everything Cowboys. My favorite team, your favorite team, America's team. Here with your host, Coach Marv.
What's going on, Cowboy Nation? What's going on, Cowboy Nation? If you're in the chat, I want to make sure I do a sound check, and if you can hear me. Didn't plan on going live today, but want to discuss some couple of things, man. I'm sorry I missed out on the show of the OGs yesterday. I had a little incident at my house yesterday. Got locked out of my own house and had to actually, to the point I've had to even break into my own house to get back into my house on yesterday. So it was a very tumultuous time. The person that, the relative that I had that had the extra key is actually driving back from across the country, helping a friend of his move from across the country. And he was not available to be able to assist me in getting back from getting in. So came into today, man, just to really talk. Hey, how you doing, darling? You doing great? Thank you. Yeah, it was crazy, man. I had to, you fortify your house so you can't break into it, and then you have to figure out how to break into that. And I'm not one of those guys that know how to break into it, but we got it done. We got in. Came in a couple of the day, man, to talk about something that we got a very big game tomorrow. There's been a lot of news that's been going on. The Trayvon Diggs story. I'm going to touch on that story a little bit. I'm going to upset some of my cohorts. We kind of disagree on that, but we're not going to allow that disagreement to be anything, because I'm going to say what I have to say, and we're going to move on. We're going to move on from that. And I think y'all kind of know, my people kind of know how I've been feeling about the Trayvon Diggs thing, based off how I've been saying in my last videos since the Green Bay game about certain type of play. And you've been watching me on the live stream when we had the watch parties, certain things I cannot trust. We're going to talk about the Trey Henderson thing, where they're talking about the trade, and it's a lot of Twitter things going on about should we trade for Trey Henderson. You're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about some of the moves that I think we should make. But the main source of my video, as you see in the topic, is something that needs to be discussed. We're at the precipice of this NFL is wide open, and we're seeing the manifestation of how football is being played, not only it's going all the way down to the high school level, but there is no dominant teams anymore. There is such a parity and such where got to focus, and we're gonna talk about that. But we got, and it's what we got to really learn how the football season is going. There's such parity; it's hard to keep teams focused. You see a lot of up and down, and I want y'all to remember this. If I tell you anything, if you listen to Coach Marv, and I want you to carry this with you. The teams that have the most consistency is going to be the teams that's going to be standing in college football as well as in NFL. those are the teams that you're going to see playing in the NFC Championship, AFC Championship, in the college football playoffs, and playing in the bigger games this year. It's going to be the teams that carry the most consistency through the year, and they have the consistent play from their players where there's not so ebb and flow of up and down. And what builds consistency? And it's about the topic that I discussed here. If you look at the topic that the title that I gave here is about culture, consistency, and then we're going to talk about the Washington game. Why did I say culture, consistency, and the Washington game? Because you have to learn how to take one game at a time and have a consistent playing style each game. And that's built off your culture. I think sometimes when we talk about the fan base, we talked about at the beginning of this season about a culture change. We talked about being a culture change, talked about all this about having a culture change. And we were such on board with the culture change. And I told you that there were some instances with the culture change that we're going to be excited about. I said it was going to be excitement at the beginning. Then it's going to be the second part of the culture is going to be the stages you got to go through. It's going to be excitement. We was excited. The second part, I said there's going to be some adjustments. And then I said we're going to go through a thing where people are going to test the culture. And then we're going to go through some of the things where we're going to have to stick to the culture, stick to the plan. And then we're going to start seeing the manifestations of the growth of the culture. Remember that? Like I said, what I go through on my show, you're going to get a foundation and we're going to build upon that foundation. But those were the 5 stages I said you're going to go. There was going to be excitement. There was going to be adjustment. Then there was going to be challenge. People going to challenge the culture. Then you have to stay consistent and stick to it. And then we're going to see the growth of it. I told you those was going to be the 5 stages of the culture. And what we're going through right now is people testing the culture. And I told you they're going to overlap. The culture change is going to overlap. But we got people, and I told you way back, if you go back and watch my videos when I talk about this culture, the stages of the culture, right? I told you way back before that you're going to get this culture, if you're trying to start a culture, a new culture, Schottenheimer, it's going to get tested by ownership. It's going to get tested by the media, your own media. It's going to get tested by outside media. It's going to get tested by your players. And it's going to get tested by your fan base. And in some instances, it may get even tested by your coaches. If you got old coaches. But this is the test. Because as I've told you before, and I'll say this again, and this leads into some of the Diggs problem. When you're trying to start a new culture, go back on my Twitter post when I talked about this culture, and I talked about last year when we brought in Zimmer. And this is the truth. Now, I'm giving you straight up truth. Everybody else giving you innuendos and crazies, but they can't dispute these things what I'm about to say. When you're trying to change anybody's thinking or way of thinking, or we trying to change a culture on a football team or anything, there's going to be growing pains. And in those growing pains, you're going to find out that there's going to be, when you're talking about a football team, you're going to find out that there's players that we love, that's been here, that we think that are good, that think that they all world, they think that they're going to be the people. And we're going, and in that change, you're going to find out, coaches going to find out that some of the guys that we think is fan base like they're going to find out these people don't fit the culture, the new culture you're trying to get. Either they don't fit the new culture you're trying to get, or they're not willing to accept the new culture you're trying. And they may be good, but they may not be good for you. That's just like in life. When you're trying to change your way of thinking, change your life and do certain things, you may find out that the circle of people you got may not fit what you're trying to do, or some of them may not are willing to allow you to do what you want to do, the new stuff. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. They're just not for you. And in the football realm, Schottenheim is going through, and you're finding this out. There's going to be there's going to be some players in this organization that you didn't think, our fan base did think highly of. That didn't think that they was that great. But those people may fit the new culture you want, and they may be willing to be a big part to lead it because they may fit a piece of what you need to do. I know we like to look at talent. I know we like to look at how talented a guy is, how talented a player is. But fit and culture fit is sometimes worth more than just talent. Because when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, when we get into the tight moments, people that don't fit your culture are going to fail you. And they're going to break your heart. Now, this is where we might be coming in with the Diggs. This is where we might be coming with the Michael Parsons. It's not always a great choice. But sometimes our fans, we like players and we want a culture change. But we really have to ask ourselves, do the guy that we like fit the new culture that we say we want? And some guys are not accepting to the new culture, and they want things to stay status quo. Some guys run into problems with the ownership or the organization of other players, and they get disgruntled and they don't fit the culture no more. Because if you're not all the way in, then you out. And may not be as easy as what y'all think it is. It doesn't mean when you're trying to change something that it's going to work right off the bat. And I'm not saying that the ownership doesn't have a problem here. I'm not saying that we may not have some coaches that maybe not fit. I'm not saying that, but I do know the things I'm talking about are truth. And I'm also saying this. If I got one big blame of this organization and this ownership, it's because this should have been the second year of this process, and some of the stuff that we're going through, growing pains, should be already gone, and you should have had figured out all the people that you want in your organization. Because sometimes it takes a year to find the imposters to your culture. That doesn't mean that these guys may not go someplace else and fit someplace else. But all talented players don't always fit you and what you're trying to do. But this should have been the second year. Because if you was an organization, you already showed with your moves that you didn't think Mike McCarthy was going to go far enough. And you just played the string out because he was in his last year of his contract. And you took a whole year away of this organization to get to the new culture that you thought it should have been. That's why you can't play the games of saying, oh, I'll just waste a year and put lame duck coaches out there. it slows the process down. How much farther we would have been with the growing pains if Schottenheimer was already the coach last year? And then he could have a chance to put his culture in with Dak being hurt. That would have helped us even better. Now, are we going to kill our coaching staff and our culture over 6 games? Is this the type of organization that we're turning into? And the fan base we're turning into? Let me tell you that teams that kill their organization and their fan base start killing their coaches and running everybody off in 6 games, those are the organizations that we see lose every year. They'll never win. Makes no difference what players they get. And we're not that type of organization, man. We got to remember what our organizations are and who we are. We are a proud franchise that still, even we're talking about 29 years, we are still the Cowboys that have won more playoff games. We're still like 3rd and 4th in playoff victories. And we ain't been around as long. We have been into just about the 2nd most Super Bowls in Super Bowl history. But we didn't get that way by switching up and being inconsistent and throwing things away within the year. Because if you look at our history, Tom Landry had to put a culture in. And if we got rid of him early on, which they were horrible, we would have never built the culture. Jimmy Johnson had to put a culture in. And if you look early, he had to break down to find out who's the imposters, who he could trust, who he had to build, who he had to put in place. Same thing with Bill Parcells. You got to find the imposters. And if we don't even think a scheme or something is wrong, we got to allow to trust the guy that's coaching them to say, this is what I believe in. Now, people want to say I was hard on Mike McCarthy. I was harder on Mike McCarthy because after 4 years, then we started looking at some crazy stuff. But these 6 games, yes, I do not see some things. I see some flaws. But I've been around players and coaching long enough to understand this. If you trying to change the culture of something and you got some people that are not either ready for the change or not accepting the change, they can be clubhouse lawyers. And they can try to make it look that you're looking like the fool because their effort and their attentiveness to make the change is not there. I say that because I respect a guy named Corey Media. Me and him talk. We hadn't talked in a while, but I wish I could do a show with him because I respect what he says. But I have to say this. He did a whole study of Matt Eagleflus. And in that study, he was on board. So when you do a study of a guy and you don't see these characteristics when you did a study, and then you start seeing characteristics of lining up and all kind of stuff, don't you have to think and say, wait a minute. I seen other teams he had that this ain't like, why is it with this team now? When we look at film and we see guys line up, we say, man, what kind of lineup is this? Do you really think that they're coaching that? And then I don't think y'all listen to the interviews. If y'all listen to the interviews, one thing I have a negative about this coaching staff, and this is Shoddy, Eagleflus, and everybody else. I think this coaching staff has been censored. Let me say this. Not by not being able to say, I think they've been censored by the Joneses not to really come out and say what they want to say about players. See, sometimes you got to be straightforward. Now, you throw it out there a little bit, and I don't think we picking up on it. So let's talk about some of the things that I heard. Been here since day one, there are a lot of people saying they didn't pick up on. From day one, Schottenheimer been talking about one thing. He's been talking about culture. He's been talking about preparation. Tell me if I'm wrong. He's been talking about we have to teach our players how to practice and prepare. You've been there 5 years. Now you say you got to teach your players how to prepare and practice. So for one thing, you must thought that was not being done. You said that we have to teach our players how to practice and how to prepare. He also said that we got to preach to try to get our guys to be consistent. This is the same thing they talked about with Blue. This is the same thing they talked about with Mozzie Smith. They've been talking about being consistent. Because he know if you prepare correctly and you get on a consistent way of playing, then everything else is going to flow the right way. He's already talking about this has been a flaw of us for the last 5 years. We have been up and down. I'm just saying stuff that we already have talked about as a Cowboy Nation, and it seems like we just totally forget about it. You cannot talk about certain things and then forget about them and then go off on a tangent. We've been talking about this team has been up, down, up, down, up, down. And he talked about consistency, talked about preparation. Then we get when these guys the bench, what it was about? Preparation and consistency. They talked about that. Then they talked about Eberflus after the Jet game. What did he say? He said, we had a better week in preparation and being prepared. And we're trying to build upon that. That means, listen, you don't know what that means? That means he says he's having problems of getting our guys to focus and prepare correctly. Being professional. But it could be a reason. Because if you got clubhouse lawyers, it can make static for any communication you're trying to get through. And I'm just saying this. If you got guys that disgruntled, it could tear up a whole locker room. And nothing gets communicated. Now, anybody who out there played football, if you've been in that type of locker room, you understand what I'm talking about. You got to take out this thing about wanting to be right and think about if you play ball, how that affects the locker room. Because if you all get on the same page, you'll be better off than certain people trying to change the page. So when you're talking about culture and you're trying to change the way you do things or how you prepare, it's very important. Matt Eberflus said at the beginning of this season, when they talked about how we tackling as a team, he said this, and see, everybody forget about this because they want to talk about man-to-man coverage. But football comes down to really blocking and tackling. He said, you're going to tell how we tackle by how our cornerback tackle. Did he say that? And how do our cornerbacks tackle? If somebody tell me Trayvon Diggs tackle, I'm questioning what they feel about football, what they know about football. Hitting yardage, man. We could go back and watch film of how many hitting yards where a play should have been a 3-yard gain. Just not aggressively attacking it, the play turned into an 8, 9, 10-yard gain. Where a play should have been stopped at 7, turns into 15. Just aggressively attacking it. When you start to see teams aggressively go attack that you don't tackle, you don't want that, people. And if you don't do that, and you're the highest paid person back there, and your defense coordinator say that's where we are, that's what we want. And when he says that, that's a cultural thing he's talking to you about. And if you don't do that, then you come out and say you don't see what the culture is. He already told you the culture of our defense is the tackling of our cornerbacks. And if you don't do that and you're the highest paid guy, that is a cancer to the locker room. Now everything is static. Now, could he be somewhere better with somebody else? Fine. I will say this. There's none of these guys in this defensive backfield that hadn't played zone before. I remember that we got mad at Quinn because he played some zone. We had nobody ever played zone. I remember during the last live stream, during the Zimmer time, when he was playing zone, we were talking about him playing zone. See, we act like, well, ain't nobody ever played zone. We always played man-to-man. And for anybody who played football, I don't care if you playing zone, you playing man. Tell me, and I don't want to yell when I say this, tell me that there's a defensive back or anybody who played defense that the excuse for a guy running free is because we played a zone. Tell me when that was the excuse. Oh, we were playing zone. We were playing man. Nobody would have ran free. Because I don't like playing zone, I'm allow guys to run free. And tell me that these guys haven't been practicing zone since they've been playing football. You mean tell me they got to the NFL and they don't know how to play zone? Tell me that when you teach defensive backs, when you're talking about zone, what is the most important part of zone? It's your study and your preparation to route combinations and knowing how to adjust your zone and what to look for in route combinations. It tells me when you start letting people go free in zones, it tells me that your consistency in the way you prepare is not well. Because I watched the Giants games when we was in zone and we had people back there. Guys are going right down the seam on us. And yes, we got our linebackers beat. But yes, because the linebackers, we say them covering down the field. Yes, they got beat. Yes, that's it. But when I see guys getting beat, where they could help other guys because their football IQ is low, then I got a problem. And then I got a problem when people see this and then they act like they don't see it. On 2 days ago, I did a video about what makes a good defense. And we and my people up here that helped me in this, they helped me out with what we talked about what makes a good defense. And we came up with 5 things that make a good defense, and they are pivotal. But we left one out. And let me tell you the first 5 we came up. We said physical. They have a good defense, they got to be physical. We said they got to have tough mindset. They got to be tough mentally. All right? Mental toughness. Defense got to be physical, and they got to have mental toughness because they got to be able to adjust, and they got to be able to put up with adversity. They got to be able to go to the next play. They cannot start dropping their heads. They got to be mentally tough. They have to be physical. We talked about they need speed. All great defenses got good speed. We talked about they got to have desire and will They got to have that dog mentality to be a good defense. Tell me the best defenses this year in the NFL. Tell me the best defenses ever. Good defenses got these 4 things. And the 5th thing we said, they have to play together. We came up on that. Watch my show, the 5 things a good defense has. And then we talked about, do the Cowboys have some of these things? Because if you don't have some of these things, how can you expect to have a good defense? And I'm quite sure the culture, they want to have these things. But you got to get rid of the imposters, the people that's not built this way. And I told you we left one off. You talk to some of my old coaches, you say, man, one of my old coaches say, man, he said, Coach, man, you left one off. You know you used to tell us this. He said, all good defense got smart players. You got to have smart players. You got to have guys on defense that are high IQ players. So you need 6 things. You need physicality. You need mental toughness. You need speed. You need dog mentality, that desire and effort. You need to play together. And the 6 you need is you got to have smart IQ players. There's no way in the world that you can have a good defense. Offense, man, listen, man. This is why I say defense win championships. It can change the game. It can score 2 ways. It can score and stop people. Offense can only do is score. When we watch the film on this game, the other game, I think a lot of people talk about the 3rd and 4th play, where the linebacker was in the line of scrimmage where he's supposed to cut the underneath play off. If you got any type of IQ, you understand that we're playing tight coverage. There's one way the ball's going to come. 2, even though Bland was standing back off, he set you up because the linebacker's going to undercut. This is an interception. You can't be playing away from that. You got to be there because you got to get to that point. 3, Bland knows this, and he should have been coming up at the snap of the ball because the quarterback only did a 3-step drop. Bland's feet stayed still. Nobody talks about that. High IQ players, man. You got to have some smarts if you're going to be a good defense. You got to have, and what I see on film, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I see some low IQ players that are very good football-wise, but they're low IQ. I see some guys that, if you look at the 5 characteristics, 1, I think speed is a problem with our defense. Speed's been a problem with our defense. I think our safeties are slow. Even Wanye's may give a little more speed, but our safeties are slow. Our corners are not blazers. Our linebackers are not no fast guys either. I think physicality in our back end is really lacking. I wouldn't consider our team as a physical defense at all. And if anybody says we are, then they're lying. And anybody who played football know the first thing a defense need to be is physical. Everybody talking about the physicality with the offensive line, and we're going to be physical with the offense. Well, your offensive line leads the physicality, but your defense across the board got to bring that wood. And we don't do that. And at some points, we don't have no aggression and will, because soon as, in the mental toughness, when we get scored upon, we can't adjust and get back on our feet. Now, some of y'all may say this coming from them, they're not willing to, they're not buying into the defensive coordinator, and they're saying that the defensive coordinator, they don't like his scheme and they're not playing there. I hear people talking about whether it's you know something? They love Quinn and they quit on Quinn in the last game of in the playoff game because see they liked him. A lot of them want to go play for him, but they did before. And if you got a guys coming here and say I'm trying to change things, why is the fan base we bucking that? Because what we've been doing for the last 5 years ain't been working. But we buck it because we don't want change. We say we want new culture, but when somebody try to change, what we do? We want things to stay the same. Now, great Warzone, great comment, and I'm not missing comment because you just must have read my mind. What does film tell me? If you look at this game, this past game, and then you put on the Jets game, or you put on the second half of the Eagles game, or you put on a portion of the Giants game, from quarter to quarter, game to game, our defense looked totally different. The physicality in the Eagle game, the second half of the Eagle game, was superb. I seen guys talking about, I seen our defensive ends, when they try to get tight ends to block our defensive ends, they were destroying their tight ends. We were corralling the running game. I look at the Jets game, our defensive backs were making hits. Then I watched the game against Carolina, and I watched number 82 dominate every defensive end we got. Not just one occasion, on several occasions, and all of them. I watched a receiver block a defensive end of ours all the way across the field. I watched we standing and grabbing at tackles. I'm watching defensive linemen, which I saw aggressively pulling up in other games. Then I watched them taking double teams and trying to sidestep and just diving and going on their own accord. That's what film showed me. And we blamed the coach. So you're telling me now the coach said, oh, we're going to do it a different way than we do it against the Jets. I've been there, people. When you got guys that are not prepared mentally because they didn't prepare themselves, and then they go out there and play lackluster because they don't play like they played the game before. They don't put no consistency. And then as a fan base, we start ripping coaches because these guys ain't, and you can see that the effort that you saw before is not there. And we don't take time to rip into their ass. And we start giving them excuses about they ain't buying in and what the Eagle Fools need to do. Don't you know that we are building a culture that will never change here? And they're playing you. Your team is playing you because they feel if they make a play, then you know something? Once I make a play and you wow you, then you'll be like, I can do anything I want here. Because they say it's only two people you're going to blame. You're going to blame Dak or the Joneses. Makes no difference what we do. Yeah. And y'all might not think that's how it is, but that's how it is. And if you want culture change, y'all tell me y'all want a physical team. Then what? Tell me that y'all said we need to be more physical. Not all my content creators, everybody talk that. So why do we allow guys that show you no physicality and we give them a pass? I'm going to say this again. When you're trying to build a new culture, it's going to get tested by your front office because they want to see if you're going to stay to the culture. It's going to get tested by players because they're going to push the envelope on you. It's going to get tested by your inside media. It's going to get tested by your outside media. And it's going to get tested by your own fan base. Because if you've been used to something, you're going to gravitate back to that. And sometimes changing the culture has some growing pains. And sometimes it don't look as good at the beginning. Sometimes you got to find the imposters and get their ass out the building. Some of these people that you may think is good may not be good for you, what you want as a culture. Then you can rock and roll. If any major problem I have with this organization is because this culture change should have started before year 5 of Mike McCarthy, because you already showed that you wasn't in with Mike McCarthy and you went lamed up and you lost a year of where this culture could be at its premium right now. To try to save a few dollars because you didn't want to pay coaches for a year. And I told you that was going to hurt. Now, Trayvon Diggs, let me give you something about Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs, I told you at the beginning of the season that Trayvon Diggs was out. He had an out on his contract. And the Cowboys felt he'd been hurt most of his contract, and there was an out on his contract. They already had the out. The next year, the out, where they ain't going to have no cap hit. They didn't kick his contract down the road. The hand right was already on the wall. Go back when I talked about Trayvon Diggs. I ain't saying nothing different. The contract was not a good contract for long term. It was a good contract for short term because he needed the money. But it wasn't a good contract for long term. And they had an out at this particular time. Next year, it's going to be very little cap hit that they can handle to get rid of Trayvon. They already know this. Trayvon already knew this. Trayvon got back and put all this stuff with listen, man, he didn't document when he came off the first knee injury. Maybe he didn't document that because maybe he did take it as serious as he wanted to. Now, the second part, he really trained to try to get back. Smart on Trayvon's part. I'm not saying that Trayvon's wrong with that. He understands the hand right was on the wall. He understands that this was his last year in Dallas. He understands that he needed another contract. He understands that all his guaranteed money was gone after this year. He understands that he had to document something to not for the Cowboys. I said all this. And act like I didn't hear me. Y'all act like you didn't hear me. He needed to document this. He was not documenting it so he can impress y'all fans. He was doing this so he can impress his next employer. Because if the Cowboys kept him here, he would have been at the same salary that he had on his last contract, which would have been a low ball salary because they had already so he would have liked his contract anyway. So he had already said, I'm gone. And all this was a ploy to go someplace else. So when you in that mind of thinking, do you want to change if the guy say he want to go another direction? Hell no. Because you're not worried about if Elam can play man-to-man. You're not worried about if Blaine coming off a foot injury, coming back, could he play man-to-man? Could you put him through that stress at man-to-man when he coming off his foot injury? You don't care about number 27, the guy that's playing the slot corner, if he can play man-to-man. You don't care about if, Lord behold, somebody get locked up, a tight end get locked up on Donovan Wilson. We already know it's going to happen there. You don't care about that. You care about what I need to do for make me marketable to the next people. And if y'all tell me he ain't thinking that way, then y'all lying to y'all damn self. Now, should he think that way? I said on the show, on our live stream the other day, I don't think nobody picked up on it. I said some of this is by the culture that the situation that our front office have created about how certain players are treating it. Your front office treated this, when they took the $500,000 from him, they already know his agent know that his money, guaranteed money, is gone. You took $500,000 from him when you should have done it. If you didn't think he was doing the training the first time on the first knee injury, that's when you should have done it, not on this one. But you took that, so you knew the guaranteed money was gone, and you took $500,000 of that. He already know the handwriting was on the wall. You traded my boy Parsons. That's my best buddy. So if you felt that you were getting Parsons out the door because Parsons already told you he wasn't doing jack, when anybody want to talk this, I'm not even going to tell you the inside information on that. But anyway, you already got the guys disgruntled. The Cowboys should have got rid of Trey this offseason. Get rid of Trey because could he play? No. I didn't never say he couldn't play. Is he extraordinary at covering? Does he have flaws covering? Yeah. Does he have flaws of being physical? Hell yeah. Can he play? Yeah. But the Cowboys should have got rid of him on the offseason. Why? Is because you had already set an atmosphere with him that this guy, he could disagree. I got no problem with that. And I know bosses understand people. You can't tell me this ain't the situation. They should have gotten rid of him then. You already done. Listen, the agent know all his money, guaranteed money is gone. He already got it out. If you keep him next year, you're gonna kick the can down the road, and the salary he's gonna get is not compared to a guy that's a Pro Bowl. You're not getting him a new contract because he already under contract. Now your guaranteed money gone. He already know when your guaranteed money is gone. You didn't kick a can down the road. He already know you gone. And you took $500,000 of that guaranteed money back. He's already disgruntled. If you're trying to change the culture with your defense and your team, you cannot have a guy that's supposed to be a top guy that's disgruntled and think he's going to fall in line. Because let me tell you something. We can talk about Trey all we want. But I can tell you this. The rest of the NFL know his flaws. And he's going to find out that when he goes someplace else, they're not going to accept not shutting a 5-yard gain down and playing it like nothing and not being aggressive and letting it be a 10-yard game. I'm just telling you. Because he can hurt your team because he gives you a team a way to attack. And they can we saw this last year, and we're going to start seeing it even more. If I was playing against us, I'm going to attack his ass every damn time with any run, anything going that way, both our corners. I'm going to attack because I know that's gravy. So when you did this is where I say the Cowboys are wrong. And I don't disagree with someone said, but when the Cowboys created that culture, created that atmosphere with Trey, you should have got rid of him. Now you're asking your coach to coach a guy that's already disgruntled with an organization, that the players in there looking at his money and he carry weight, and you're going to try to change him over. And he already know you're going to get rid of him next year. He is only out for self-preservation. You watch him on the play. Listen, Corey did this, and I don't know why Corey didn't bring this. He said, man, why is he doing certain things? Why is he trying to bait guys on 39? Because he wants interceptions. He trying to get ready for his next employer. Man-to-man is good for him. Is man-to-man good for Elam? Is man-to-man good for number 27? God forbid, is man-to-man good for any of our safeties if they get locked in them? But you can't even get a zone when you got chipping. Talking about what we shouldn't do. And this is where the Joneses cheapness come in. They're paying the guy. Let me tell you something. This is the exact same problem that the Joneses had with Mike McCarthy. And nobody see this. They're cheap ass. Don't want to get rid of a player because they're paying, so they want to get all the money that they're paying them, and they'll keep their ass there to get all the money out because they don't want to let a guy go and they still pay him. But they'll let the guy stay there and kill the progress because they don't want. They care about a few dollars they give the guy, and they don't want to let him go. No dead money or money they pay him. Think about it. Everybody they released it, all the money was gone. They kept them on so long enough so all the money that they're paying them is all dried up. So when they really release them, they really got nothing really to pay them. And you hurt the progress of the team because the guy already know your ass gonna let his ass go. So you think he playing for you? And if anybody say, I've debated anybody that want to debate that terminology. We could talk about conspiracy, but this is I'm speaking common damn sense. You don't think Trey know he was gone? I keep trying to tell y'all, when the guaranteed money is gone on your contract, to put your contract back into active status, it's gonna cost you big cap dollars. The kick the can when the guaranteed money goes, it kicks in big dollars, which is harder to cap. So when the guaranteed money goes, when they say it's an out, if they haven't give you a stitching before the out, your ass is good as gone at the end of the guaranteed money. Zeke, gone. See, I got receipts. Zeke guaranteed money was almost gone, almost all of it gone. He was gone. They held on until the guaranteed money. Guess what? What does Zach Martin ask for? Church didn't trade him, but they should. When the guaranteed money gone, guess what? That's it. Zach Martin kept himself there one more year because why did Zach Martin hold out in training camp? Same thing with Amari Cooper. They took very little cap hit because the guaranteed money was gone. Duh! We held Jason Garrett till his whole contract was up because we didn't want to fire Jason Garrett and pay him a dead salary money for a year. So we kept him to the end of his contract. We kept Mark McCarthy to the end of his contract because we didn't want to fire him in year 4 because we had to pay him 1 year without coaching. Duh! Zach Martin. Let me give you the Zach Martin case. Zach Martin guaranteed money was about to be over in his contract. Zach Martin wanted to play 1 more year. He held out. They talking about he wanted a bonus. They only gave him a $3 million bonus because they guaranteed more. They guaranteed his last year, gave him that money, and guess what? He knew that if at the end of the year, if he didn't hold out, when his contract ran out of guaranteed money, the Cowboys was going to release his ass or tell him that he got paid on a low ball salary. He already knew that because he saw it happen to Zeke. He saw it happen to Dez Bryant. And he knew it was going to happen to him, and he held out to get them to guarantee his last year. Man, Come on, man. I don't know why y'all come. I want somebody to come at me thinking that this ain't the case. And you should have got rid of Diggs this offseason. He knew you wasn't investing in him. You think he's going to invest in you? And then when your defensive back says, your defense coordinator say, I like tackling corners. That's when we going to show it. And you ain't that tackler. And he say something to you, guess what you going to do? You going to try to fuck up every damn thing he do. And then, and guess what we going to do? We want a culture change. This guy doesn't do what we want in physicality, and we side with his ass. And let me tell you, I'm not going to keep going back and forth with Diggs, and I'm not going to get no argument with Diggs. I'll just say this. Watch what the next team do with him. I've seen it happen before, and he may have a resurgence with a new team. There was a guy that, I said that again, what's the guy? It was on my last show. It was a guy that played cornerback here for the longest. And then he went to the Minnesota Vikings and became another all-pro, and he was tackling everybody. He wouldn't tackle nobody here. And he went to the Minnesota Vikings. He was a first-round draft pick here out of Kansas State, out of Kansas. Played for me in many years. Went to Minnesota, played another 5 or 6 years, and was a hitter there. For us, he wouldn't hit nobody. Know why? Because we thought that he didn't need to hit, and we defended him not hitting nobody. But when he got to Minnesota, they didn't defend that. They said, you got to be a complete corner. And that's what he did. Terrence Newman. You are right. He wouldn't tackle nobody here. He went to Minnesota, was knocking people out. Because they didn't defend that. They didn't say that you're gonna have to do that because you got some interceptions or you got guys. We defended. We try to make it like, oh, and then we started making comparisons to Dion. We mean to tell me we comparing these guys to Dion, and I can tell you this. I can tell you, we could watch film of Dion. He ain't pass up tackles like this guy done. I ain't see him turn around and run away from guys. Man, come on, man. And then we talk about he ain't healthy. Well, yeah, he might not be healthy. Let me tell you something, man. What you expect from Trayvon Diggs? This is not no slander to Diggs. I understand his point of view. He had to come back early. The guy looking for his future. He know it ain't in Dallas no more. He knew this before the season even started. He got to put some tape together. Now, he done put enough good tape together. He feel, right? Now he's saying, I ain't going to get hurt. Because I done put enough tape together in the first couple of games, I think, with coverage, not physicality, because they're going to look at that too. Watch what I tell you now. Listen, man, we not look at the stuff, but watch I tell you. Coaches see, this is what I see. They see guys that just giving up yards that are crucial. But, you know, I let that pass. We'll just see how it work out. And now he's playing for his own future. And I understand that. Who fault is this? This is the organization fault. Because when you knew that you had a guy that had an influence in the locker room, and you know that he already know he's gone, you already know he's disgruntled, why the hell you keep him here with your first year coaching staff? Like you can't find nobody else. I'm watching other teams playing with guys at 3rd and 4th round draft picks. They coach them up and they play and they win the games. The Seattle got one of the best defense in the league. They got rid of a lot of their goddamn on first corner. They ain't out there with no first round cornerbacks. They playing ball. They play zone 90% of the time too. If you thought you was going to get zone, why didn't you even let your guy get who he wanted? They don't need to keep a guy that's looking for himself. And do I blame Trevor Diggs? No. He's looking out for himself. You created this culture. You created this atmosphere, Cowboys. You already created this atmosphere. And your nitpicking ways of not letting people go trying to get every bit of juice out the orange because you scared somebody else going to get something from your player that you got to pay him is costing you every bit of the way. It costs you with keeping McCarthy here 1 year too long. It cost you when you kept Jason Garrett here 2 years too long or 3 years too long. You, listen, man, I need to pull up the interview where Jared said he couldn't stand GMs and coaches getting money and they're not coaching. See, y'all hear what y'all want to hear. But when they tell you the truth, you act like you don't hear that. Your head coach been talking about consistency and telling people how to prepare. He in a bad situation. He understood this. You know something? He probably happy. He ain't saying he doesn't like Trayvon Diggs. He not saying that Trayvon Diggs can't play, but he don't fit us. There's certain guys that fit other people that don't fit us. Is that wrong? There's way more ways to skin a cat. But I can tell you one thing. Y'all can say with Coach Marv, there's ways to do it, but I'm going to tell you one thing you can't get around. If you think you can get around football without being physical, then I got another thing for you. You may find a case that can do that. It may be 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15, 1 out of 100. And if you want to go with that, fine. I'll go the other way. And if a guy that turns down tackles, I can't trust him. Not in football, baby. Y'all want to talk about it? When I see guys turn down stuff, I can't trust them. Is the ownership has some fault in this? Yes. Do the coaching staff got some fault in this? Yes. Because if I was Eagle-Flus, I've been standing on the cup and say, man, wait a minute, hold up, man. Yeah, if you say we got rid of Michael Parsons, okay. I understand that. But this guy's, you want me to get him to fit in our culture, and he's disgruntled. And once he start talking, chirping, that's static. And that static, I can't get around that. Get rid of the static. Point blank what I'm going to say about Pickens. Let's talk about Pickens. Let me tell you what pisses me off about our Cowboy Nation. As soon as a guy plays, we start talking about contracts and start, man, don't y'all know that the people that bring up articles about you need to sign a guy and you need to go ahead and sign a contract or sign an extension or about a guy going to be a free agent and you 2, 3, and 1. And they're talking about a guy that had a play and we talking about, man, we need to sign him if he's going to sign. Don't you know you talking about something that has no relevance in winning football games? And if we're talking about that and we're commenting about articles, don't you understand that this has nothing to do with winning and good teams don't even talk about that type of shit? There's a time and a place to talk about contracts. And most of the time, that's at the end of the year. Preparing for the next year. And at the end of the year, if the Cowboys want them, they'll find a way to get him. And we're worried about, oh, we get them early, even. We can get them for cheaper. Why are we worried about that? Because we do. We talk about that. Do you ever hear me talk about that? No. Because we ain't doing it. We say our voice matters. We ain't doing it providing distraction. Yeah, it's good talking points. See, that's where I'm going to get lost. And I may never make no money out of this. I may never get all the subscribers I want. But that's where I'm going to disagree, because I'm worried about us putting the things together to win, man. I'm thirsty for us to do it the right way, because I understand doing it the wrong way, you ain't going to never get there. With Pickens, he has been showing inconsistency his whole career, his first 4 years here. I don't care if he had 3 or 4 good games. You got to show me consistency. Second thing, when you watch his blocking, it's still pitiful. When you watch his route running, it's still not crisp. This is what we need to be hopping on Pickens and pushing and saying, man, you still need to run the routes better. Man, you still need to block. That's not telling him we want him to get the hell out of Dallas. But we're making sure that he understands the consistency he has to play at. The third thing, when CeeDee Lamb comes back, there is no 2 number 1 receivers. There is no pecking order of number 1 receivers. There's one guy, and then it's a second guy. There's no 2 Batmans in Batman show. It's one Batman and one Robin. I don't care how good Robin do on an episode, his ass is never going to be Batman. So what we do with that is, how is Pickens going to adjust when CeeDee Lamb comes back and he's your guy? Is he going to fit his role like he's supposed to be? Or is he going to pout? Because if he pouts, he could be this much of a cancer to the offense. Look at Cincinnati. The other receiver, Higgins, he knows that Jamar Chase is the man. And he fit in where he get fit in at. But he know there is no question. There ain't no pouting if he get the ball. If the ball go to Jamar Chase and he thought he should have came to him, he ain't pouting, because he understands his role. And he comfortable with that. And that's why that makes him a great combination. Is Pickens going to be that way, or we done boosted his head thinking now he's the number 1? Let him show me the consistency. Every time about Dak and put in Dak, let him show me the consistency. And at the end of the year, we can work something out. But he got to show me the consistency for 17 games. And then we can work something out. All this talking about, so why, Cowboy fans, are we even approaching? Because you got to understand who bringing those statements up. Most times it's for now nitpicking, wanting to start some crap inside people in our organization. And none of that got to do nothing with winning football games. Because signing Pickens to extension ain't going to win us not one game. So why are we talking about it? Next case in point. No, Pickens, you need to block better. Pickens, you need to start working on your routes, because you could be even better if you tighten up the little things. Because you non-blocking is going to cost us a game, because it can probably break a long run and you ain't doing what you're supposed to do. It ain't all about your catches. It's about being a complete player. And I say this. If we don't make it, listen, let me say this about Pickens. And I want y'all to hear me very good, because y'all don't like to hear sometimes. If you don't put pressure for Pickens to be a complete receiver, what you sign him as what he's doing, if you allow him not to block, not to run routes, and you sign him to a new contract, you just bought it as is. He ain't going to change then. But if you get him and motivate him to get better at those things, when you sign him, he's not going to regress. He's going to stay there. So when you sign free agents, you better, while you build them up, you better get them to the point that you want them in all areas. Because once you give them the money, they ain't going to change. So when you go out to buy a house, it's just like this. They tell you when you go out to buy the house, what they tell you when you go through your walkthrough. I know all y'all bought a house, but you go buy a house, what they tell you? You better, if there's something wrong with this house, you better tell the builder right now and get it fixed. Because once you sign the dotted line, that's yours. Next point. And now for the Ty Church, I'm about to make some other people mad about this one. Trey Henderson, the defensive end for the Cincinnati Bengals. I need to go back on Twitter. Go back on Twitter over a year ago. I posted that I thought the Eagles were going to trade for Trey Henderson last year. But now the Eagles are in what name? They said the Eagles, and they said, and our nation is that we talking about we need a defense end so bad that we should just give the barn up for Trey Henderson, give a first round draft pick and maybe a second to get, And somebody posted on Twitter, and I agree with them. And we could, man, smart football, man. Sometimes you get thirsty and you get crazy with this. One, Trey Henderson is a good pass rusher. He ain't that great against the run. But two, you're going to trade Michael Parsons, get some assets, which Michael Parsons is younger. I consider that Michael Parsons is a Lexus. He's a 2024 Lexus. You trade Michael Parsons to get trade-in value for the 24 Lexus. And now you're going to take the money that you got over and give it to another team for a guy for another Lexus, but it's a 2020. Dude, that make any damn sense? You don't trade in to get older. And then this what this is. The guy's 31 years old. Cincinnati didn't sign him to a long-term deal because they already probably see mileage. We looking at numbers, but they probably already see mileage. When you sign him, you don't think he want a 3 or 4 year deal? He's going to be 35. And we think that that's going to change everything. We just bring him in. Come on, man. Stop being so thirsty, man. And I understand you say you need a defensive end. I understand that. Church, I wouldn't even do a second round pick, Church. Nobody's offering them more than probably a third or fourth round pick, man. I'm telling you, everybody ain't gonna sign this, man. They understand that the guy's he's gonna come in wanting the contract. He's not gonna come in and if you don't give him a contract, you're gonna have the same problem you got with Trayvon Diggs. You're gonna have a guy playing for himself. Anyway, next point that I want to touch, we talked about this. And this should make Boss and Lou happy this year. The campaign that Boss, Cowboy, and Lou takes about the running back situation, y'all, they are so right about this. Yes, and now I'm not saying that they're right about Blue. No, I ain't gonna say that. I just saying Blue is a young guy. It may take him a minute. Every guy doesn't adjust to the NFL right off the bat. But regardless of that fact, I don't think Blue at this particular point, if he hadn't got no more work, Blue, if you get a guy, you get Williams hurt, you don't have a guy. You need to. There's nothing wrong about you developing Blue, but you need another 1-2 punch in here, and they're right. That needs to be addressed. Now, should we overpay there too? No, I wouldn't do that. But that needs to be addressed. And listen, I don't like Brandon Chubb. Brandon Chubb ain't. He got traded the first time to Miami, and he still ain't done nothing. Brandon Chubb is so overrated, man. Check him out, man. But he's 29. He ain't did nothing. But listen, man, like I said, yeah, Pickett's paying for himself too. Pickens ain't caring about when he's trying to get another contract. That's why you have to keep him in check, and you got to keep him motivated by the carrot in front of him. That's why talking about a contract is the worst thing you can do. But anyway, we need to address this running back situation. Yeah, Chubb might be out. Hey, he can fit in the rotation. I mean, I'm gonna say this, and I get back to that church, but I think where we gonna find it. And yeah, fifth rounder would be that would be great. But I'm gonna say something about the defense church that a lot of people don't realize, and it'll help out a lot of situations. But the running back situation first, it got to be addressed. Boston and what name has been put, and they're right. This needs to be addressed. It can be you get a more proven running back, not because it's not going to be the same offensive line, but that gives our guys that Williams has never been that guy that went a whole season. This needs to be addressed. And there's no talk about no extension for him either. Forget all that. Let that happen at the end of the season. See, we got people talking about that too. Man, forget all that. It'll happen at the end of the season. But that needs to be addressed. Now, the defense. We just got to get physical, church. We get physical and we stop people throwing the ball underneath and we start rallying better. Then we're going to make people start running more complex back. If we get physical and we buy in the secondary of what scheme we're trying to do, and we get to the point where we buy in to where we're trying to cut off certain things and we're playing the things with zealous, we're going to make guys hold the ball a little bit more. And when they feel that they can't do an underneath game because they can run all through us, we're going to have enough time to get the quarterback, and I think we will. We can bring a guy in here. If teams are just throwing the ball underneath like they're doing most teams and just running, it ain't going to work. But yes, if they want to address it with Chubb, that's fine. 5th round pick, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. But we need to address that running back situation. If they're gonna address defensive end and not address running back, then I got a problem. We got to address the running back. Consistency, people. I know I've been over my time. I said I wasn't gonna be an hour, but man, it's been a very fun time, man. Consistency is what we're looking for. And I'm gonna say this again. Zach Marv, listen, man. Church, I'm still gonna go with my idea. Everybody want to talk about their ideas, right? I'm going with my idea. I'm going with a guy that I know that can run the football, that I know that can play in a two-back system, that I know that's going to give you everything you need from a running back, and they can play. It ain't going to take much to go get Tony Pollard out of Tennessee. They already on the fire still. It ain't going to take much. You bring Tony Pollard back here, they know they should have never let Tony Pollard get out the door. And they know what type of character he is. And it's not going to be hard for him to fit in seamlessly fast and not have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get fit in. So, let's go ahead and pull that trigger. Now, and you're right, but Zach Moss could be too, but Tony Pollard be your guy. A-Chain to be your guy too, because he'll give you a little bit more home run. But you're going to get blocking. You're going to get a guy that could be a number one running back in Tony Pollard. You got a guy, I think you're in the same situation he is. And I think, yeah, I think Tony Pollard be your guy, man. And it's going to be, and I'm sure that the organization know what Tony Pollard was. And they know that he didn't get a good rep. But our fan base ran the Tony Pollard out here because we expect if a running back ain't Emmitt Smith, we feel that he ain't no running back. Man, that's crazy. But anyway, consistency, people. Culture and consistency. Culture and consistency. Culture and consistency. I'm going to say this again, man. When you're trying to change culture, there's going to be growing pains. And we're into the stage right now that's being contested. And I told y'all, I did a show, and I told y'all when I do shows, it's a building block. And I told you a long time ago, since I've been doing this YouTube thing, I told you I'm going to do shows, and you're going to be able to reference back to my shows because you're going to see the stuff again. I told you when you're trying to build a culture, there's going to be stages. I told you when you was trying to build a culture, the first stage is going to be the excitement stage. We don't went past that now. I told you the second stage is, and some of these stages are going to overlap. I told you we're going to go through the adjustment stage. The coaches are adjusting with the players and coaches adjusting with the coaches, and it takes a while for you to really know your players. The coaches are starting to know their players about what their flaws is when we start to get in the heat of battle, and players are starting to find out something about their coaches and maybe get upset with them because there's certain things they want. I told you that we're going to go through the testing stage where you're going to be tested by your front office, about your new culture. You're going to be tested by players. You're going to be tested by your local media, and you're going to be tested by the media in general. And you got to pass those tests because the way you're going to pass those tests is the fourth stage. The fourth stage I told you is you got to stay the course and believe in your course. You got to believe in your culture and stay the course. It may be some rough waters, but you got to stay the course if that's what you believe in. If you get wishy-washy, then you're never going to get a culture in here. And then the fifth stage is the maturation of the culture. We'll start to see the culture in our play, and we'll start to see consistency in our culture. I told you a long time ago that when you're building a new culture, there's going to be some growing pains, and you're going to find out that some of the guys that we like as fans are not built for the new culture or maybe not accept the new culture. It might be selfish reasons. It might be disgruntled reasons. It might be that they just want to play their way. They might like it the way it is, or they may not be built for it. We're going to find out there's going to be guys on this roster that we may not think they like, but they fit the culture. Sandberg might be slow. He may have problem in open space, but he might fit the culture. You just got to find places where he is benefit. You just can't put him in every situation. But I guarantee you, if you put him in the right situations, he going to make plays. But he fits the culture. And it's about fit, not talent, all the time. I told you this, man. And I told you what I say, the stuff I said, man, it's going to come back. And if anybody want to dispute me on it, let's go. They understand that. If you got a business, You running in the business, you running family, you see the exact same thing I'm talking. And I told you, football is relative in everything else. They know about the same stuff. They understand if you got a business out there, you understand when you're trying to change things, it's going to be some growing pains. And some of your group either going to fit it, they ain't going to fit it, they may fit somebody else better than they fit you. But there ain't no problem. And it's your job as Schottenheimer and his coaching staff to find the imposters to your culture. And everybody might not like it. But the benefit may be down the road. But you got to stick to it. And we can't kill this new culture bill because of 6 games. That can't, no. We might not like some things, and some things we don't see, we can't see because we in everyday practice. So we got to be very calm about how we jump to conclusions about what's going on. But what I ask you to do is this. If you're watching film, we talk about people like to watch film. If you see a player in one game, he is physical, he is dominating, you see how he's playing, you see a discipline in him, and then you watch him the next game and he looks like a totally different player, don't blame the coach. That player's got a problem with consistency. And this is why your head coach been talking about consistency. This is why your head coach been talking about preparation. This is why your defensive coordinator said, well, during the Jet game, we prepared better. We stayed. Y'all didn't hear that? And as soon as we prepared better than the Jets game, when we start patting them on the back, inconsistent players go right back to their old habits. And I'll say this again. In closing, I told you all those things, and I'll say this again. If y'all want to talk about a good defense, and how many times I have said for the last 2 years, and I will say it again, this team in the NFC East, the team in the NFC East, historically, who's had the best defense has won the East most times. The best defense and the most consistent running game has won the East. And you're going to say, well, Coach, you ain't said nothing about Washington prepared for Washington. It's all about attitude. If you think about it, stuff Washington run game down and make their guy throw the ball, and he's going to throw in cutting routes. Make him throw the ball outside the numbers, and you'll be able to pick him off. I'm just telling you. Been watching him a long time. He won't throw the ball in cutting routes. But I will say this. I said that this team is going to go as far as the defense is going to take. I told you that last year. Told you year before that. Told you Mike McCarthy's first year is going as far as the defense takes us. I'm not worried about Dak. I know it's going to be some rough days with Dak and his offense. That's every offense. Going to have its rough days. When we start playing the top teams, it's going to have but it's going to go as far as the defense takes us. The defense got to be lights out. They got to be consistent, and they got to be sturdy and physical. And I've told y'all again, when you're looking at defense, look for 6 qualities, people. Don't worry about names. Look for 6 qualities. Those 6 qualities in any good defense. And don't worry about no scheme. I've been telling y'all this, man. The best defense don't be trying to trick people in scheme. Everybody knew the Tampa Bay defense when they were that dog defense, they were going to be in cover 2. They played to perfection. Everybody knew the Bears were going to be in 46. Everybody knew what the Baltimore Ravens were going to line up in. Your better defenses don't care nothing about no scheme. They play their scheme. And they played to perfection. Everybody knew the Seattle was going to play cover 3. They did some adjustments out of that, but that's what they're going to do. But all these great defenses, even the ones that was good, they ain't got to be great. They had these 6 qualities. They were physical as hell. They were mentally tough. You couldn't rattle their defense. They never dropped their head. They had speed. Yes, they could fly. They were speed to the ball. They corral on the ball fast. They came with bad intentions. They had attitude. Yeah, they had dog attitude. They what made you want to quit because they didn't give you anything easy and they punished you. And they played as a team. There was no selfish guys on any good defense. You got to sacrifice yourself. Sometimes you got to play defenses that you don't want to play, that doesn't suit you, but it suits the other guys to make them better. And the 6th thing, they had high IQ, football IQ. And they was able to diagnose. They was not the coach could put them in a bad situation where the film showed them different. And they would move around like statues. They had IQ. And if you don't see these things, forget about players. If you don't see these 6 things that I just said, then you got a problem with your defense. Change those 6 things. And I guarantee you, I could get a defense that ain't got all those stars because it has happened. And there'll be a better defense and get people to the Super Bowl. 6 things. 6 things. Ty Church. 6 things. Physical. Mental toughness. Speed. Dog mindset. Attitude. Desire. Teamwork. Working together as a unit. And having high IQ defensive players. Get those 6 things, people. And we'll have some things fixed. Get those things fixed. That's a part. Get those things fixed. Let's start out with physicality first. Let's be mad and start punching people in the mouth. Don't tell me nothing about coaches when you go and watch this film and you see that tight end blocking out defensive ends down the damn field. Snatching them on the ground. And you tell me about coaching? If you ask anybody in any levels of football, if a tight end blocks a defensive end on a regular basis, your defense is already compromised. Church, you might tell them, get in the box and agree with that. If a tight end can block a defensive end on a regular basis and dominate him, your defense is already compromised. Everything else is going to work. When you consider a tight end a little guy, when a little guy can block a defense, a big guy on a consistent basis and dominate him, the rest of your defense is compromised. The first thing you learn as a defensive player is the defensive end says, when a mouse in the house, if your blocking scheme is to get this guy, the tight end, to block me on most occasions, then I'm going to show y'all how to wreck offense. Michael Parsons got 1 sack in the game against Green Bay. And why did he get that sack? Who did he try to block him with? On the goal line, they put Jake Ferguson to block Michael Parsons. And he ran through him and ran around him like I-95. Bad matchup should always be a bad matchup. And if you dominate that position, it hurts the offense. When you tell the tight end, that he got to do the cutoff block for the play run the other way, and he got to cut the defensive end off, and the defensive end is picking him up and slamming him and coming down the line of scrimmage and making a play, and he can't make that block. And when you're talking about we going on the outside run, a zone, and you got the tackle try to touch the defensive end, but he leave you on the tight end on the defensive end, and you get finished driving him and discarding him and messing up the play, cutting off the timing of the play, and then you go back. Know what your offensive coordinator say when he come back to the huddle? Know what they say when they go to the sideline? We can't run that play because we can't hold up the defensive end long enough with our tight end. Are we mad at the tight end? Hell no, because we know the tight end is supposed to be able to block that guy on a consistent basis. But if he can do it, we got gravy. Because now we can send the lineman up on the linebacker, and the only thing he got to do is shield blocking. But now we got little against little blocking big on the end, and then we can get a big guy blocking another little guy and our linebackers. Now everybody compromise. So let's try fixing that in this game. Just tell me how it worked. Now, when we go in this game, if I'm watching it and it's not addressed and I'm seeing it still happen, then I got a problem with the coaches. Because it didn't happen in the Jets game. And then you don't talk about it, and then guys get lax. This is the same thing happened in the Buffalo game. They tight ends blocked out defense in all game. See, anybody want to talk about that? Because you think I'm talking about Mike Parsons, but it's the truth. That's why they ran for 200 yards. It's the truth. So, hey, thank y'all, man, for letting me vent. Thank y'all for being in here, man. Thank y'all, man. All the people that was in the chat, man. I know it's a lot of. Hopefully, if some people put in some super chats, I couldn't read because I'm on this other platform. But everything will be greatly supporting the channel, man. I gotta go and get windows fixed because I done broke in my house. I'm sorry that the Big Show was on here. I'm sorry I wasn't on the tune in on the show. I don't know if they probably was looking for me. I don't know if they wasn't or not. But like I said, I got locked in my house, had to break in my own house. But I will be ready for the live stream tomorrow. Listen, man, Coach ain't going at, I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not back and forth arguing with nobody because I feel that a lot of people have great ideas. They have opinion. But I'm going to always say, in my opinion, it's not logical. And people say, you can't work with logic. It is. But I do know these things. And I always say this, the stuff I'm talking about, culture and consistency, I'm never going to guarantee wins. Because football and sports, there's nothing guaranteed. But I will say this, don't have these things. I bet your chances won't be as good. Have these things I'm telling you, I bet you it'll increase your chances. And that's all you really want to do. Thank y'all, man. Please like, comment, subscribe. I have the watch hours. Coach is less than 300 subscribers away from being fully monetized. I never thought I'll be at 1,000 subscribers. I'm less than 300 away. Let's see if we can get this in the volume. If you own this show, you came across the show and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And as I always, when you share this show, share it with a comment of how you feel about what's going on. Because people when you share it, they see it, but they also need your comment to say, oh, okay, because they know why you grooving with it. But like I said, man, listen to our content creators. I will say this. We talking about all type of trade, but Boss and Lou about this running back thing, they're true. We need to address that. All the other ones, I'm iffy on. We not, whatever. But we need to address this. And I hope these young safeties that we got, like these guys that we got in this room, right? Woods that they got, Christian that they brought in here. Let's let these guys play. Woods should be ready. Let's let him roll. It's time to change the whole safety room out. It's time to go young. It's time to go with some young, vibrant guys. And I can tell you this, Matt Eaglefuss will like it. Because then he got somebody that he can say, we can build the culture I want. And you got to allow him to build the culture before we put him over the coals. Let's not turn into an organization that doesn't even allow guys to even put stuff in place before we start ripping people and siding with players. Because I would say this, I'm going to say the last thing. If we get rid of Matt Eaglefuss, and I'm not saying he should stay here, but guess what? When we got rid of the defense coordinator that had one of the worst defenses in the league, and we brought in Quinn. Quinn didn't take the same players. He got rid of some players too. He changed out 9 of the people. Listen here, if you get another defensive coordinator, the guys that quit on the last defensive coordinator, guess what I'm gonna do? If I come in, I'm not coaching that. I'm gonna find the flaws out. I'm gonna clear the house again. Wait. So when we talk about we taking care of players, listen, man. This team is on the precipice. Everything is out there in the open. We can get some consistency, and we can get those 6 things I said on defense. We'll be all right. I think we got enough talent in the room. We just got to play, man. We got to play, man. And stop talking about nonsense. Let's stop talking about contracts. Let's start talking about all that stuff, man. For what? The Joneses got us locked in to thinking about they got us thinking that we can save money. They got us thinking about their budget. That's the biggest crop in the world when rich people get you think about how they spend their money and how they can save money. They laughing at you. They already got the plan in place. Don't worry about that. Just win, baby. Get the guys to do the job and win. But as I said, man, thank y'all so much. Let's get this victory, man. I hate the Washington team, but we're gonna take mentally. And when we watch this team, if we watch a better fired up team, a more physical team, and we get back to watching what we saw at the Jets, and we see what we see in Carolina, then we got to start thinking about it and say, hey, man, maybe it's our players need to get more focused and get more consistent. But until the next time, man, keep it going. And as I always leave as the season starts, Cowboy players, Cowboy coaches, Cowboy ownership, get your mind on your work. Get your mind off of all the other stuff. Get your mind on your work. Until the next time, people, I salute. Thank y'all so much.